This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
All right, next game, Ole Miss. This is at home on October 21st. Last year, Ole Miss went 8-5, went 4-4 in the SEC. But I think if you look at the record, it looks like they had a pretty good season. But if you remember the whole kind of Lane Kiffin, talking about him coming to Auburn, there's some drama around that. He sounded like he was our guy. And if you look back on it, the Ole Miss season when Lane Kiffin was essentially getting courted by Auburn to be their next head coach, Ole Miss went downhill quickly. They finished the season 1-5 in their last 6 games. That's not good. That just shows you their head coach wasn't fully there, wasn't engaged. I've talked to plenty of Ole Miss fans that are my friends, and at that moment, they were completely done with Lane Kiffin. And I think there's still going to be a lot of fans that are just pissed off at Lane Kiffin for even considering coming to Auburn, and yet he's going to be their head coach this next season. And I'd be a little concerned too if I was them. But here we are. Lane Kiffin's their coach, and we have another former Ole Miss coach, Hugh Freeze, as our head coach. So this is kind of an interesting one when you kind of look at it from that perspective. So, Jared, what's kind of your thoughts on this game and how this game might play out?
I think Ole Miss fans are a little delusional. I've seen some of their comments on message boards. They think they're in the top echelon of the SEC.
No.
Yeah, they do.
No. Have they even won?
No,
and
it doesn't matter.
I don't even think they've won an SEC championship.
They've never been to Atlanta. I mean, it doesn't matter. You should see the comments. It's kind of comical. I want us to beat them really bad, and I think Ole Miss is overrated. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they've benefited from a down Texas A&M, a down LSU, who's back, a down Auburn. I think that's how they were able to even get to their 8 wins. I mean, their best, what was one of the best teams ever 2 years ago? Didn't they get destroyed in their bowl game? I mean, I just they always start out pretty hot and then they fizzle. I think we beat them, man. I think we beat them by 14. I don't know. I think you might think a little less than that, but it's in Auburn, right?
Yeah, it's going to be in Auburn.
Yeah. I think we win by 14. I feel actually pretty confident about that one.
Yeah. Especially at that point, you're about halfway through your season, and I'm really hoping at this point, Auburn's offense knows what it's doing, and if that's that case, then I legitimately am kind of the same way. I don't think it'll be 14, but I'll say 7-point win over Ole Miss, and I think that's pretty good. It's kind of interesting as I was looking at ESPN and how they predict things. They have Ole Miss winning this game like 74% of the time. And I was like,
they love Lane, man, and Lane's good. I mean, Lane's a good game planner, but I don't think Lane is near the head football coach as Hugh is. Yeah. I think Lane is a great play designer. I don't knock him in that regard, but I think as an overall head coach, I think Hugh, is better than him. And I think at home, that far into the season, I don't think we let it happen, man. I think we win that one.
Yeah. A couple of kind of interesting things before you leave the topic of Ole Miss. So they ended up hiring Pete Golding as their defensive coordinator, who, if you're familiar with that name, came from Bama. He's also the one that at Bama, if you ever watched the video, which is hilarious in my mind, Pete Golding's on the field after I think like an SEC championship game, and he goes over and like jump hugs this like cheerleader, a Bama cheerleader. And you're like, this is a grown man going over and hugging a cheerleader, and like they obviously have something going on there. And like it's caught on camera, and like as soon as I see it, just shame. And I'm like, that's the type of guy he is. Like, that's just, I don't like it. But
yeah, I think that Bama's defenses were kind of some of the worst they've had since Saban's been there under him. So I don't know how much he improved. He brings a name, right? Because he's from Bama.
Yeah.
I think Bama upgraded by bringing in Steele. I think that.
I think so too.
Yeah, Ole Miss just doesn't scare me. Like I mean, the record against them all time is kind of comical. I mean, I probably need to stop because I've seen so many comments on their fans. And they think that they are a better program than Auburn. They think they are in the top echelon, and it's a little funny.
It is.
So, anyways,
it is.
I think we'll win that ball game.
Like I was even looking somebody. It was even I think either today or yesterday, from when we're recording this, and somebody had an Ole Miss fan had tweeted, "Oh, we have better recruits than you," or whatever. And somebody literally just took a screenshot of how many 4 and 5 stars Auburn has. Guess what? Ole Miss has 0 so far. Auburn has way more 4 stars than them. Like, it's not even close. It was like Auburn had like 12 4 stars and Ole Miss had 4. Like, it's not even close. And you're like, what? You're not even in the same like room as Auburn in the SEC
the worst thing that could have happened was that they landed that 5-star Cam Franklin, but he's a hometown kid. That was the worst thing for their perspective on themselves. But yeah, I mean, Auburn's like top 5 in the country from star value. We just don't have a lot of players, but yeah.
But those are gonna come. Like, that's the thing. Like, we're gonna fill up our room, especially with how Hugh's recruiting. Like, we're gonna fill up that room, and we're gonna likely be a top 10 ranked recruiting class for this, the next season for 2024.
Yeah, if we keep trending this way, we will be there for sure.
Yep. All right, so let's move on to Mississippi State, another Mississippi school. October 28th last season, Mississippi State went 9-4. Obviously, with the tragedy of Mike Leach tragically passing away, they had to make some moves, and I'm still kind of sad that we won't have Mike Leach and his amazing interviews and just like his interesting perspective of offense. I mean, like, he obviously made something work at Mississippi State with their air raid offense, and now it's gone. Mississippi State is kind of transitioning from that air raid offense over to a more balanced offense, so they'll add more of a run game in instead of just passing the ball 90-95% of the time. So that'll be kind of interesting to see, and by this point you'll probably have a decent idea of how Mississippi State is going to do. Like, are they transitioning well to that new offense or not? And I think the thing going for them is their quarterback, Will Rogers, is a senior, and he's you can tell he gelled really well with Mike Leach and his offense. He ran that offense to a T, exactly how Mike Leach wanted it. And it's just a matter of, can Will Rogers transition from, instead of passing the ball 90 times in a game, to now handing the ball off a decent amount, and then also obviously passing. How is that going to translate? So that's still up for kind of debate on how that's going to look. And we'll just have to see probably a few games in. Is it working? When do things start clicking for them as they transition over to a new offense? Their new head coach, Zach Arnett, he was their former defensive coordinator. I looked it up. He looked really young. He's only 36 years old, which that by itself, you're a head coach at an SEC level team and you're 36. Like, kudos to him. Like, that's a big move and some obviously really big shoes to fill of Mike Leach. But we'll see how he does. I think the defense for Ole Miss, or for Mississippi State, is going to be really solid. It was really solid last year. I think big question mark in my mind is that offense transitioning. For my score prediction for this Mississippi State game, I'm going to put it at, I think we're going to win by 14, especially since we're at home in Jordan-Hare. I think we can beat them. So, Jared, what's your thoughts on this game and everything going on with Mississippi State?
Yeah, I mean, just still sad news about Mike Leach, and he was a classic. Loved his interviews. I think from a football perspective, though, I think they're been, they number one, they recruited around that system, right? And usually when you change systems, it takes a year or two. I don't know that they have the talent to just run a normal offense, and I don't know. That uniqueness of his offense is what gave him a benefit. I think we win the ball game. I have no idea. I'm being honest with you, so I'm going to go a little more conservative and say 10. I do think that coach, that defensive coach, who's now the head coach, is he's pretty good. I mean, he was a hot commodity. He would not be at Mississippi State this year if the tragedy hadn't hit, because he was a hot commodity. He would be at probably a different program as a DC, or maybe gotten a head coaching job somewhere.
Yeah.
Very talented guy. Unfortunately, that tragedy happened, and it was a smart hire by Mississippi State to keep him on. I think he's going to do well. I think they'll be strong on defense, but I think they won't have enough on. I think they will not have enough on offense to beat us.
I don't think so either. And that's why I think it's a pretty I think we beat them by at least a couple scores. And I think recently Auburn has kind of gotten back to beating Mississippi State, which feels good. Kind of in recent times, like when I was in college, it felt like Mississippi State just had, I don't know, whatever it was. And part of that was I think they had like Dak Prescott and a couple of just legendary players that have gone on to the NFL. But Mississippi State is still kind of Mississippi State, and I still think we can win.
Yeah, we should win that game at home.
Next game is at Vandy, which we've already talked about, with their stadium being absolutely looks like a construction zone. I'm amazed that it's honestly hilarious to me that their stadium's kind of in this like shambles right now, which is such a Vandy, I feel like, kind of thing where you're just like, yeah, we probably won't even have enough fans if we even had the full stadium. So like, man, whatever. Like, we're not gonna have the full stadium. And we're going to call it, like, what's going to be freaking hilarious? I just think about this. Watch this happen with that kind of end zone that's kind of getting reconstructed for them. Watch them sell out for this game or something. And they're going to be like, yeah, it's a sellout. And you're like, no, it's not. You didn't have a fourth-year stadium, like, available. Are you kidding me? No, it's not a sellout.
Well, Vandy against your Georgias and Auburns, they probably are the underdog fan-wise in their own stadium. I mean, it's Vandy. I mean, there's usually more teams of the opposing fan bases there, so this might benefit them because there's not as many opposing fans that can go. So it may be a strategy. Vandy's a lot smarter than everybody else, so maybe this is on purpose.
It could be.
So I don't know, but I mean, this one, yeah, I don't know. I think you probably got us at plus over 14 points on this. I think that's probably pretty fair. I'll go with 20 actually. I say we win this one by 20.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about for them, I think it's a first or maybe second year head coach kind of deal. Like he got, if I remember right, I think it was his second year. He definitely showed improvement last year. Got his team up to 5-7. Won a couple SEC games, which anytime Vandy wins SEC games, like they're having a pretty good season. And so from like their player perspective, they've got a returning sophomore quarterback who showed some promise. I think their biggest gap is their leading rusher he left. He's done. Wide receivers, they've got some threats there, but again, like I think you go into Vandy and you've got a really good shot at at least a double-digit win. I'm going to say 17 points win for Auburn in this game against Vandy. Next game is against Arkansas. It is in I call it Walmart land because it's just it's out there somewhere near the headquarters of Walmart, and I'm just like, it feels like everybody just bought their shirt from Walmart that's an Arkansas fan. It just feels that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little biased, but it feels like that. Yeah, so last year, Arkansas went 7-6, 3-5 in the SEC under Sam Pittman. If you know anything about Sam Pittman, hard-nosed, just like kind of your old school coach. He ended up hiring a new offensive coordinator, Dan Enos, when Kendall Briles left to go to TCU. Dan Enos is going to run more of a kind of RPO type offense, up tempo and a quicker offense, which I think if I'm Arkansas, I like that a lot, because it can still run downhill, but then you got KJ Jefferson as your quarterback, and he could chuck the ball. And if you got both of those pieces going, I think Arkansas could have a good season this year. And they've got a guy, his name is Rocket Sanders. I don't think that's his given name. It's kind of like Tank Bigsby. I don't think Tank's like, it's not his real name, But like his name is Rocket Sanders. Like, how cool is that? Anyway.
Pretty cool name.
But even despite all of that, I still think Auburn in just about any year, even last year, I think Auburn in a down year last year, Auburn beats Arkansas in most situations. But, this is a new season, new coaching staff. And I still kind of like reminisce a little bit of, the Gus Malzahn era where he just like absolutely just torched Arkansas. Like he was like, I don't care if we win by 60 points. I'm going to do it. Like, I don't care how it looks. I want to beat Arkansas. And that was like his approach. And pretty much every time it felt like against Arkansas, we would do that. I don't know if like Hugh Freeze has any animosity or like that, but if we can start getting back to beating Arkansas, I'm going to love it. So my official prediction is going to be 3-point win for Auburn against Arkansas. This is one I honestly give us a little bit of a toss-up just with them transitioning to a new offense. If it's working, KJ Jefferson is a proven winner for them at quarterback. So, I mean, this could be one that it's just like a flip of the coin, depending on where Auburn's at and Arkansas is at this point in the season. Jared, what's your thoughts on this and what's your prediction for this Arkansas game?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of specifics, honestly, because it's just so far down the road. But I just think I can't. If I pick us to win, then I'm basically got us going 9-3, and I don't think we go 9-3. So I'm gonna have to pick us to lose. I mean, it's at Arkansas. That's not an easy place to play. I don't necessarily think Arkansas is better than Auburn, but I can't have us going 9-3. So I say a road game, we're gonna lose. I say we probably lose it by 6.
Okay.
And hopefully I'm wrong about that, but yeah, I say Arkansas by 6.
Yeah. Again, this is one I see. It's kind of like this one and maybe Texas A&M because they've also got some change up of offensive coordinators. So like I think I could see both of those games going either way.
I agree.
Next game is kind of in my mind, a cupcake game right before we gear up for the Iron Bowl. That'll be in Jordan-Hare. But the next one is New Mexico State on November 18th. Last year in New Mexico State was 7-6. Honestly, don't know a whole lot about them. I think Auburn wins this one. I'm already just going to say 31. And I think we have a pretty good season at this point. I think I'm up to, I want to say like 8 wins.
Yeah,
somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think you may have us going with 9 wins, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Well,
you got us losing to A&M, right? Or
I did have us winning, but again, that's one that I see is probably like a toss up. So
okay.
Like if we beat Texas A&M and Arkansas, yeah, we're going 9-3, but like we're probably gonna split one of those. So I think
so.
Yeah.
I'll go 41 on New Mexico State. I don't know anything about them, so 41 sounds good.
Love it.
Why not?
Hey, and if it's like what I'm honestly hoping, you give Peyton Thorne a little bit of rest and just say, Robbie Ashford, go ham. And Robbie Ashford is going to be chomping at the bit to go and just do his thing because he's electric. I would love to see something like that.
No doubt.
Next and final game of the regular season is Alabama. This is your fan favorite, Auburn favorite, Iron Bowl in Jordan-Hare. Magical things always happen. And this is one that Auburn's already announced that they're going to be honoring the 2013 Auburn team as a kind of a 10-year reflection of that. So, the kick six and all that fun stuff. I mean, just get ready for all of the kick six stuff. Like they're going to be bringing back some great clips from that one and getting the fans hyped. So it's always a big fun one if you get to go to this one. If you haven't experienced an Iron Bowl, my wife got to experience one a couple years ago for the first time, and they're just something special. Like there's something special about it. And getting into like some of the game stuff, Alabama will be losing, or they already lost, I guess, Bryce Young and their just defensive stud, Will Anderson. So losing a couple of their big leaders on both offense and defense. But at the same time, it's Alabama. They do the reload and they're ready to go. But at the same time, you're thinking, all right, like you're losing your star quarterback and your star defensive player that had so many tackles for loss. I feel like he had like 1 billion sacks. So you're thinking you got a better shot at it. And at this point, I think it's Sunday. Nick Saban still hasn't announced their quarterback. I don't necessarily think it really matters who they pick. It's probably not going to change anything about what I think about Bama. But that's something that they've got to work through, and they'll officially come out, I'm assuming, in the next little bit and decide that. So again, we're recording this on Sunday, so who knows? Maybe it's already out. My score prediction for the Iron Bowl is I think Bama's going to beat us by 7. I think, again, we put up a good fight. Hugh Freeze knows this is a huge rivalry. He knows the SEC. He's going to bring out some stuff as well as Philip Montgomery on our offense, and like we're going to put up a fight. And so that's the part that I'm really looking forward to. So hopefully I get to go to this game. I would love to see another Iron Bowl, especially under first year head coach Hugh Freeze. And maybe if we do come out with this win, I mean, you're in my books kind of coming out with like a 9-win season, something along that line. And if Auburn first year head coach finishes 9 wins, I mean, you are in a really good spot. I mean, you're going to be able to get good recruits going forward. There's a lot of positive just talk about you going from 5-7 all the way to 9-3 in a season. So, I mean, that could be a really big statement if he's able to beat Bama at home. All right, Jared, what's your thoughts on the Iron Bowl this year, and any predictions on it?
Yeah, honestly, man, I think we can win the ball game. I don't know that they're going to be the typical Bama of old. I think that, they're going to they don't even know who their quarterback is at this current moment, I don't believe. Now, they will by then. But I think we could win it because it's at home. But I just still can't. I think if I pick that, then that picks us at 9 wins. Like, I'm just flipping Arkansas and Bama. So I don't see us hitting that mark. I'm going to go Bama, but close. I say Bama wins by 7. But yeah, I mean, to your point, if we were able to, I think if we win 8 games, that's a tremendous trajectory. Tells us which way we're headed. I think recruits will flock to that. If we win 9, there'll be some. I mean, that leaves you the chance to win 10 in a bowl game. I mean, that'd be insane. I don't think that's going to happen. But you never know. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Bama winning that one by 7. Unfortunately.
Yeah. And you know what? What's hilarious is by the time that game rolls around, I'm probably gonna be like, "Let's go! Auburn's ready to give it to Bama," and I'm gonna flip.
I mean,
that's just the way I am.
Auburn should have beaten a Heisman candidate quarterback with T.J. Finley, and Jordan Hare. So I mean, injured T.J. Finley. I mean, so it's possible, right? I mean, we can win that ball game, but we don't fear Bama. Hugh Freeze does not fear Bama. He's beaten him twice, and he'll tell you very quickly he could have easily beat him 3 times. So, the more I talk about it, I'm going to say we're going to win, but then I'd have to go change some other games. So I'm going to leave it right now as us losing. But yeah, by the time the game rolls around, I'll probably have us winning.
Yep. And I think that generally kind of wraps us up for this season. I think both you and I are kind of in that 8-4, potentially up to 9-3. I mean, I'm gonna be happy, honestly, if we get a winning season. If we end up being 7-5, and go to a bowl game, I'm gonna be happy. In my mind, I don't know. I'll ask this to you, Jared. What's kind of your mindset on what would be a successful season for Auburn? Like, not necessarily a score or a record, but like, what is success for Auburn this season?
I think 7-5 with signs of improvement and the right 7-5. Like, you can't you can't slip up against like New Mexico State or somebody. But I think 7-5. I think 8-4. You are really doing well. You like where you're headed, and then 9-3. You start getting real silly talk about the 2024 season. So,
yeah,
I think that it probably 8-4 would actually probably be the best overall. If you're not going to win it all, which we're not, 8-4 is probably a better record because it doesn't get you too hyped about the next year, which is not really a good thing.
Yeah.
I'll take 9-3 all day, but unless you're going to win it all, there's not a tremendous difference between 8-4 and 9-3. You just need to show signs of. But I say we got to go 7-5 in my opinion. I don't think 6-6. I think with our schedule I think that would be a little disappointment, honestly. I don't care about new coach. I don't care about any of that. I think 6-6 with the talented coach we have and the running game we're going to have, I think that would be a disappointment.
I think so too. If you end up having 6 wins with the amount of just sheer number of running backs that we have, and you can't win 6 of those games, that's not a good sign. But I legitimately don't think that's going to happen, because even if like one of those running backs go down, or we have to go to our second quarterback or something like that, I still think you at a minimum, like, kind of our floor is probably 6-6, but like the ceiling is 9-3, and you're going to get a pretty good bowl game out of that if you're a 9-3 Auburn team.
Agreed.
So, I mean, that's the hope. I mean, again, I would just, it's kind of, the looking back at Brian Harsin, we always complain about, like, what is the proof of concept? Like, it never came to fruition. What was this team? What was the offense? And I think if Hugh Freeze can show us a proof of concept, which I have full faith in him with how much he's turned around teams and brought them from, like, I'm just thinking back about Ole Miss. Like, when he came in, they were absolutely atrocious in the SEC, and he turned them around so quickly. And that's the kind of stuff he did even at Liberty, and he can do at Auburn. And if he can bring some of that and have some success here, I mean, you're talking about somebody who could be a pretty good coach in the long run. Not only a coach on the field, but obviously he's already shown he can recruit off the field as well. All right, Jared, any other final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, sir. I think we covered it pretty good.
Yeah. How can people stay in touch with you, Jared?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Jared Davis.
Yep. And you can find me on Twitter at AJAY_. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger and War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.